I've done one of these videos, and I was going to try to have one of my little meditation classes today, but no one apparently is going to show up. Um, so I figured good enough chance to just cover some basic information. Anyway, so eventually I'm trying to get a group together and just go away. Sorry. Go. Kids. Anyway, he's been on a tangent all day and I'm. Anyway, sorry about that. Have you had any idea how many times I get to restart these little videos and considering they're live stream because my phone doesn't have enough memory to do it the other way, and I have no earthly idea how to shoot something with a camera and then put it on a computer and do all. No, this is how I do it. You know. But anyhow, what I was trying to say. Eventually, I want to put a group together, and people that have like um, people that know like herbal medicine, people that know like Native American, you know, uh, naturalistic ways. Um, you get the idea. You know, people who maybe do yoga or maybe do tai chi, maybe do whatever. And if I can ever, I've got some things kind of in the works right now that I'm not going to talk too much about. But if I can ever manage to get any sort of funding whatsoever, rent a small building and we'll figure out who gets what days to, do sort of a little hour and a half class. You get the idea. And we'll kind of go from there. What I'm going to go over today is some of the basic stuff that, we would be covering. And I know there's a lot of you that, for some reason or another, especially in great big Ardmore, America here, get to the uh, mental point that somehow I'm doing a whole bunch of anti-Christian stuff. Well, it's not anti-Christian. It's actually all biblical, but the only way you would know that is if you'll have to read certain Bible passages, and then you would have to have had knowledge of like meditative concepts from like India and Tibet and balance them against each other, and then certain passages make a whole lot more sense, and then it's like that aha moment where you're going, oh, so that's actually talking about this, because otherwise you're just hearing about something and it's like you have absolutely no control over what's going on. And but anyway, like I don't know if you've ever. No one, go. Love him to death, but he annoys the hell out of me some days, especially when I've been trying to get him to clean his room for a fucking week. Parenting. Oh. Yeah, I mean, too bad there was never a written instruction book for this. Or actually, that's the problem. There's like 500 of them, and none of them work. Anyway, so yeah. See, I used to have my own little store 2 years ago, and this was a lot easier to do with a whole lot less distractions. As long as I didn't lose signal, that was annoying. But anyhow, as I was saying, okay, so one of the first things I kind of go over with anyone I'm going to teach is what are known as the chakras. And yes, this is all hand drawn because, well, as I said, I have no idea how to print stuff off. So if you look over here behind me, yeah, that's tiny. Okay. If you look at this, these 7 different designs and color patterns going up and down, if you can make out that there's a human body design back here, sitting in kind of a meditative pose because the lighting is really hard for me to figure out what I'm doing. Let's see if I can max lighting, go back. Anyway, yeah, outdoors is kind of iffy. So, yeah, you've got these 7. You've got the crown, mind's eye, third eye, all-seeing eye, which, believe it or not, is not a demonic term. We've been trained to think it was, even though once we get into this, you'll actually kind of understand this more. Throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root. So now in ancient India, or a few different cultures there, they didn't really understand medical knowledge very well. And later on, once they get, well, let's see, about the 1500s, once they start actually kind of performing some rather barbaric surgeries, but still surgeries, and they start realizing that there are these either clusters of cells or, nerves, or you get the idea. Basically, most of these are glands or organs, is what these are. The crown deals with the pituitary gland, which is actually located right behind your nose. The mind's eye, or third eye, is actually dealing with the pineal gland, which is dead center of your skull. There's this, well, now it's about the size of a raisin, but it used to be every bit as big as a grape. Now, due to our diet, certain practices, exposures to different radiations, different chemicals in our foods, that kind of stuff, drinking water that's full of fluoride, our pineal glands have calcified, which means that they've gotten this crusty stuff all over them that keeps them from being able to open up like they're supposed to. So now they're kind of stuck in this closed form. But yeah, back to this. The next level down is the thyroid, which is in the throat. The heart actually deals with a gland right behind the heart called the thymus. Next, the solar plexus actually deals with the pancreas. Kid. Anyway, the pancreas. The next is, now this is where people get kind of confused. Actually, at the top 2, but I'll go into that. Is that the sacral deals with reproduction, and then the root deals with, these are your reproductive organs and whatever glands are around that. Like in men, it's a process. It's your your prostate gland, which provides testosterone, and I don't even know what that gland is called in a woman, but I'm sure it's the equivalent of, and there makes estrogen. I have to look into that because I just totally pulled a blank. Anyway, the root is actually your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys. So, and you notice these two bottom ones on the locations on the body, it's like they're switched. Well, in different cultures, these do too. So there is a whole concept in any sort of spirituality practice, and it's referred to as above, so below. Now, I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's that demonic thing because you've got this demonic statue at the Satanic Church with fingers like this, so on as above, so below." Well, the thing is, that's not really a satanic concept. That's just a universal concept that is just kind of one of those they happen to use and focus on, but it's used biblically too. I mean, okay, the Lord's Prayer actually in one part says, your will be done on earth as is in heaven. Same premise. Um, but yeah, both, it's kind of like, kind of like a tool, a hammer. I can build a house with it or hit somebody in the head with it. It's just what it does. It smacks something, end of story. I can use it for good or bad. It's just how that concept plays out. Anyway, but so whenever you get into dealing with all these glands and stuff, you have to look at the human spine and skeletal structure instead of just being a cluster of cells, or you get the idea, a cluster of tissues. Okay, your brain and spinal cord work on the premise of sending nerve impulses up and down it, which are basically static electrical forces. And go play, both of y'all. That way, that way, that way. Go away. You can't get around. Go, go, go. Goofball.
I had to stand up on your tippy toes.
Hey, go. I'm trying to shoot a video here and it's live. Go. I don't need y'all in the background and I don't need y'all talking. Go. Okay. As I said, there's these static electrical impulses going up and down the human body. Now, these impulses put out an electromagnetic frequency that surrounds the body. Anyone who's old enough, if you were old enough to remember before TVs became flat screens, and, before everyone had cable or some sort of streaming service, you would have these bunny ear looking wire antennas stuck on the back of your television. And ever so often the signal would shift a bit, and you'd have to go adjust these things. And you would get within about 3 feet of that television, and for some weird reason, the signal would either straighten out or it would screw up worse. And so the whole time you're touching these antennas, you're trying to figure out if you've got it vaguely where you needed it to be, or if you're just going to be sitting within 3 feet of this television until whatever you're trying to watch is over. But anyway, and that is this static electrical field I'm talking about. Yeah, older technologies used to pick it up quite well. We've gotten to the point where we've adjusted our technologies to the point where we don't really notice that field. But fields basically emanate out from the body somewhat like this. you have a primary field that surrounds you at about 3 feet. Your uh, your crown chakra puts out a small field, of a couple of feet, and then your heart chakra, which is like, I think they say it's, I'm wanting to say 10 times stronger than this one, puts out a much larger field around you. And then there's a little radiant coming off the hands and the feet, but the feet aren't in this one. So whenever we start go. So whenever we start focusing on all of these different glands and these different aspects of our life through meditation, what it does is it stimulates those different, I'm just going to go to glands, to produce their chemical messenger signal things. And anyway, this is why the kids annoy me, is because I'll be on a thinking or in the middle of something, and then they run by and it just, oh yeah. So okay, so you're stimulating these different glands, these different chakras. Just actually you do it naturally through life. In fact, just in the natural state, you're in these bottom three, which is survival, reproduction, and willpower. These three are just inherent to every living creature on the planet. It takes focus and actual desire to move into the fourth, which is the heart chakra. And it deals with, compassion and stuff like that, because otherwise you're just surviving. That's what these three are. These are just straight survival. Mosquitoes are getting my legs. But then you work your way up into the heart, which is almost every concept of the heart is the majority of Christ's teachings. It all dealt with compassion. It all dealt with building bonds and awareness and nurturing, because you had to go through this stage to get any higher. That's like that whole "I am the way," the whatever. I am the way. Anyway, yeah, that's what he meant. His example was you had to do this to connect spiritually. So, and believe it or not, even the Lord's Prayer is set up after this diagram. But it's like, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." Communication. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, which is your pancreas, which processes sugars and stuff. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Deliver us from temptation, but lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And for yours is the yeah, that whole last one. Anyway, but yeah, it's still set up to follow this model. Anyway, yeah, next time I'm gonna make actual script. Now in the book of Revelations, you have the throne room of God with the 7 torches. which represent the seven spirits of God. The spirit of the Lord, spirit of wisdom, spirit of understanding, counsel, might of God, spirit of knowing, and the spirit of, well, the fear of God. So, yeah, they're basically saying the same thing. They just had to use words that, while this was being described, if you weren't from India, you weren't going to have some of these same words. So there's a little paraphrasing from one language to another. But even the little scroll here in the left hand, the different seals. Now, those actually are, dealt with. Oh, I'm skipping. Okay. I'm going to have to jump back and forth for a second. But we'll get there. Well, this isn't the exact verbiage, but this kind of makes a little more sense. Those seals dealt with the 7 deadly sins. Gonna get to go get a frisbee when this is done. Okay, so your crown cancels out pride. Your mind's eye cancels out illusion. Throat, lies, heart, greed. Let's see. Solar plexus was gluttony, sacral, lust, root, wrath. So basically by focusing on these traits, any of these traits, you can overcome its opposite, whatever aspects going on in your life. Okay, then we get into other things like the use crystals. And now I know there's a lot of people that the second I held up a crystal, they're like, oh, those are demonic. No, they're not. Well, first off, I don't remember Satan being able to create anything. Someone created this. But issue with crystals. Okay, so this is a protein, which we're basically made of. It's oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and carbon. Okay, whatever. And alright, if you can see this, and you can imagine somebody pinching it in the middle, and basically, once all the atoms on it get to vibrating back and forth, I mean, if you can imagine me pinching this and shaking it, you can just picture all those little atoms just, kind of not really vibrating overly cohesively, and sometimes they bump into each other. When that happens, those vibrations basically cancel each other out, and gives it, I mean, it's still a decently strong electromagnetic signal, but it's not as strong as the one off of one of these. You see, the atoms line up like this in a grid pattern, switching off so they can connect to each other. Now, when this vibrates, it doesn't vibrate like, a bunch of strands of spaghetti being whipped around. This vibrates like somebody shaking a Rubik's Cube. They all move the same direction at the same time together, which gives them a higher vibration or electromagnetic electromagnetic field or frequency. Now, this frequency, when it comes in contact with this, helps stabilize this out a bit. It gives it just a little bit of an energy boost. And so, now when we get back into that, the field that's surrounding the body. So, our moods and emotions are different. Basically, if you could monitor it on such a minute level, small level, you would see that whenever someone goes into different moods, and they can do this by now with brain scans and stuff, which different part of the brain lights up. But it also, whichever part of the brain lights up stimulates a different part of the spine to, connect to its gland or whatever, release hormones, and boost whichever emotion or feeling. So, yeah, and that feeling is actually, it actually generates out into that static field that goes around you by like 3 feet, or 3 to 6 actually. So, it depends on how strong your emotions are. But anyway, so now you get where a crystal comes involved is, let's say you got these two people. Guy listening to, I don't know, what's some upbeat song, that everyone likes, and you're listening to, and you're happy-go-lucky, and just walking down the sidewalk. This chick, they don't even know each other, but they just pass each other, and she's crying and crap because, I don't know, she tells her boyfriend something, he does it exactly as is, and she's mad because he either didn't do it to more of a degree or didn't think his way around the scenario. And girls, don't tell me that can't happen. I know better. I've been through that crap. It's the only reason I knew to use that. Like, when the girl tells you to get out and you do, and then she's pissed off because you did. And I'm kind of going, but you told me to. Yeah. Anyway. But, okay. So, yeah, she's mad. And then he's happy-go-lucky. But as soon as their fields cross, depending on who has the stronger of the two emotions, like if he's happy but not overwhelmingly happy, just kind of in that mid-range, and then she's just devastated, a lot of times it will overshadow his. And then, a few minutes, they don't even have to know each other, they don't even have to talk, but all of a sudden, here he is, mad, and he's trying to figure out for a couple hours why the hell am I mad, because there's no reason for him to be mad. He's just suddenly pissed off and cannot understand why. So you bring a crystal into this mix. A crystal, well, instead of being stuck in that funk for hours, can reduce it down to minutes or seconds. Basically, as soon as that other person is back out of your field, you'll either shoot back down to normal, or, just within a couple of minutes, you'll be able to process it, and you're back to being happy-go-lucky. Because crystals store emotions. Your emotions are an electromagnetic frequency, right? These store electromagnetic frequencies. In fact, we know that today in our modern day technologies, we've been using exactly that, slicing these into extremely thin, wafers, and extremely thin, extremely finely polished, so you're not going to have all that smokiness in there. You're just going to have like a completely, crystal clear, looks like a sheet of glass, but it's actually quartz. And, they stimulate it with basically electromagnetic with an electromagnetic field, and then they break the data down into a bunch of ones and dashes or ones and zeros and focus it through that, and then that retains the ones and zeros. And the thing is, they found out that a crystal this size will hold like pretty much the entire FBI database. I mean, good lord. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a crystal referred to as the Hodgel. I'm gonna have to get back to you. Anyway, it's this large, like 18-pound crystal skull they found in the Amazon. It's huge. It has a separated jaw. The weird thing is the only tool marks they could find on it were where the jaw connects. And so they it was carved, but they're still trying to figure out how the hell they carved it because it goes against the grain of the crystal, and we would shatter it nowadays trying that. Anyway, the point is, they figured out that that crystal could hold every bit of knowledge that we have in like the Library of Congress times like 50. So do with that what you will. But so yeah, these stabilize your mood back to where it was, because when you get one of these, what you'll do is you'll pick it up, and I recommend using music. Just saying, you pick a song that gets you incredibly happy, incredibly almost like love drunk, if you know what I'm talking. Where when you first get in a relationship and you're just overwhelmed with this sense of like, the part of the relationship when none of your friends can stand to be around you because you just ooze this, they're like, oh my God, really? It's like, we get it, you love them, but geez, come up for air. Can't stand to be away from them, can't sleep, can't eat, can't do, yeah, I mean, you're the worst employee on the planet kind of thing because you're not with that person, for like 2 months. So, kind of the way you feel at that stage, you get yourself into that mindset. You're holding this crystal, and as you take deep breaths, you picture all of that emotion flowing into this. You're going to breathe in, you're going to picture it all flowing. Well, the way I tell people to do it is hold the crystal between your two hands and picture that emotion flowing through your arms and back around your torso. And as you breathe in, it's going to go through this crystal. And whenever you breathe in, it pulls into the crystal. And whenever you breathe out, it's like, imagine it locking in there. And then you breathe in again. And, you're going to do this 5, 6, 7, however many times, 10 times. And you're just going to like supercharge this crystal with this loving, positive emotion. So that's the reason I'm saying this stores that. And so yeah, if you get into these negative emotional situations, like wait, you'll automatically reset to that, mental standpoint. Now, different crystals will have different emotional frequencies because of the element. They'll vibrate at different speeds because of the different elements present. Like some are supposed to be, and you can use the color chart off the chakras we went through earlier, and to just about figure out which kind of crystal does what. Which one stimulates this, which one stimulates that. Yeah, that's the last page. I'm gonna flip all the way back here because I'm not gonna put you through the whole meditative song and dance. We're just gonna call this a teaching experience. And yeah, I definitely want to look at getting a place where I'm not, first off, at the house around the kids, and second, not getting eaten alive by bugs. So, but yeah, like amethyst, lapis lazuli, This could be sodalite. This could be, let's see, what's another one that's light blue? Turquoise. Down here you're into adventuring, you're into, there's a few different ones. Adventuring is probably the most popular green hardstone there is. Um, yeah, there's another one I'm thinking about, but can't remember. It's like dark green and light green stripe, and I'm like completely pulling a blank. Down here, you're gonna get into stuff like citrine or yellow jade is another popular one. Orange a lot of times is tiger's eye or carnelian. Sometimes tiger's eye gets used up here though too. So just don't be surprised if you see those two get used in the place of one another, because a lot of times different countries may not have had access to whichever stone, and they'll substitute one up and down the way. A lot of times red jasper or garnet gets used at the bottom, but the funny thing about clear quartz is any of these that are missing, you can substitute a clear quartz for. Sometimes it gets stuck up here pretty often, or here, or I've seen it all. But anyway, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff we go into. And remember, you were told to use crystals in the Old Testament for, the brothers of Moses' brother, who was the high priest, and his sons were told to wear crystals on a gold breastplate, in order to enter the Holy of Holies and all this. And I kind of have some questions as to whether or not there wasn't some other things going on there. But yeah, so crystals are actually recommended for use, as long as you don't think that this thing is God. Okay. So yeah, it's just a rock, but it does have a purpose. It's like, don't worship the thing, worship what made the thing. How's that? Anyway, so that's my quick take on this, guys. And great. Looks like I can get off here, because I think I see a grass snake in the yard. Okay, I get to go save his life before the dog kills it. All right. Well, hope to see you next time. Bye.